All right, welcome everyone to Golden Shower Sunday stream for the week of July 23rd, 2023. Jess is out today, so it's just me, Paul, and our guest today, Daniel Durt Godain Godfrey. Welcome, sir. How are you doing?
Hello, I am doing good. I still haven't had all my coffee yet, but I'm working on it.
I,
Well,
I'm
in
right there with
fairness,
you,
it's
homie.
only the crack of 1 p.m. your time, Daniel. Take your time.
I'm right there with you.
I have a toddler, so I'm constantly exhausted.
All right. Okay, let's start with a quick introduction of yourself for those in the audience who don't know who you are. Why don't you give them a quick introduction?
My name's Daniel Godfrey. I am the front person, whatever, of the band. I am the Icarus. We've been around since like 2007. Just regular alternative grunge rock kind of band. I guess we're a little out of time.
All right, there you go. I've actually been looking forward to this episode for a while. So I guess my first question for you is how did you, or what got you into music in general? Specifically writing, joining the band, or whatever.
Okay,
Like
yeah. Well, my dad was always playing music around the house and a lot of country music, so I grew up with a lot of that. And he had a guitar. He had a Guild acoustic guitar that was always just kind of hanging around the house and whatever. But like, I never really showed much interest in it until I can't remember how old I was, but 1993 when Siamese Dream came out by the Smashing Pumpkins. That was the record that like I heard that record and I wanted to know like how they were making those sounds. I was like, what is this? Like how are they doing this? So
right.
yeah, so that was kind of what started it for me. And then I picked up my dad's guitar and kind of he showed me my first few sort of chords and then I just taught myself from there.
I like it. I was going to ask this later on, but I guess I'll ask it now. What are all your, we've talked about this on Twitter briefly, but what are your musical influences? I remember we talked about Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Mentioned Smashing Pumpkins and all those guys. What else?
Yeah, it's pretty varied. Like like I said, I listened to a little bit of everything. I grew up on country, so like a lot of like my sort of like songwriting came from people like Townes Van Zandt or Hank Williams, like that kind of stuff, mixed with, you know, obviously like Soundgarden, Nirvana, like all the kind of grunge bands or whatever. But then, you know, I'm also like a huge fan of Alanis Morissette. Like I couldn't sing for shit when I first started. I didn't even want to sing. I kind of just wanted to play guitar, but like we couldn't really, nobody else wanted to sing. So it kind of ended up being me. And I kind of learned a lot of like technique from listening to Alanis Morissette, that first record.
That's actually going to be my next question. I was going to ask how you got into the singing aspect, but you just answered it for me.
Yeah, it's a total accident.
There you go.
Yeah, it was an accident.
Okay. Next question. How did I Am the Icarus start?
So basically the band started after a divorce. Like I was in a bunch of like bands in the late 90s and early 2000s, like post-hardcore type stuff, like whatever. And then I went through a divorce and I moved back to California. I'd been living in Texas and I just started writing a bunch of music. I got a place in Pacific Beach in San Diego. Like I was like 2 blocks away from the ocean, which was pretty cool. And like I locked myself in this studio apartment and just wrote a bunch of music. And then I contacted Sean Lopez from the band Far. I don't know if you're familiar with Far, but he's also in that band Crosses with Chino from Deftones.
Oh wow.
But yeah, I hit him up and I kind of sent him some demos and I was like, I don't know if you'd be interested in maybe producing like an EP or something like that. And he hit me back and was like, he was really into the stuff. So yeah, so I ended up working with him and doing the first EP. And it was meant to kind of just be like you know, like I was like bummed out because I was going through a divorce and I just kind of wanted to get these songs out. And it was supposed to be a one-off. Like I was just going to do this EP and like, you know, kind of whatever. But then, I don't know. It kind of became like my main thing. And it was cool because like it was around that time when the industry was kind of changing because streaming was just coming about. I think Spotify was kind of pretty new, like in 2008, 2009.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, so I kind of realized I was like, you know, I don't have to like kind of do the whole like, you know, try and get signed by a label and tour and the whole, I don't have to do that. Everything's changing, right? So I just kind of decided to make it like a studio project, and that's what it's been ever since. Where just, you know, I just put out records and, you know, people like them, they like them, whatever, but there's no pressure.
Right.
Can I after having you on the show last night and thinking about what I Am the Icarus is and how it's like an all one-man deal except for drummers, you know what? This is gonna sound super weird. It kind of reminds me of Pasquale's Pizza. You know what that is?
No.
It's Chuck E. Cheese. When Chuck E. Cheese was shut down in the pandemic, they went to an all virtual ordering system, but they didn't advertise as Chuck E. Cheese because they thought nobody would buy their pizza. So they called it Pasquale's Pizza, like a
Really?
digital version of Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
None of the fun and games, only the shitty cardboard pizza. Not saying your music is shitty cardboard pizza.
That's awesome. And it worked, I guess.
Yeah. Kept them afloat.
That's genius.
Yeah. Now, are you originally from California?
Yeah, I'm from San Diego.
Okay. Well, are you there now or elsewhere?
I'm elsewhere. I'm in Texas now.
Oh, back in Texas.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Since I'm not musically inclined, and you already mentioned you lived in Ocean Beach, I actually spent quite a bit of time in Ocean Beach as a working for the U.S. Navy as a civilian. How close were you to Kaiserhoff's?
I'm not familiar with that.
German restaurant on Ocean Beach.
Oh, I was in Pacific Beach.
Oh, Pacific Beach. Okay.
Yeah, I was in PB.
Sorry, my bad. It's a really good restaurant. Recommend it.
There's a lot of good food in San Diego in general. Like the whole city it's pretty. Everybody always talks about like places like Chicago and stuff like, oh, yeah, great food everywhere. But like San Diego is pretty killer. You can get all kinds of different food there.
In San Diego, circa like 10 years ago, was the last time I was there on a regular basis. It was the cleanest city in California. It was no homeless. I heard it's getting bad, but San Diego was actually a really beautiful place to go.
Yeah, I love San Diego. I mean, I wish I could go back, but like it's just like everywhere else in California, it's going to shit. Like the last place that we lived in, we literally had like meth, you know, crackhead, whatever, homeless people living in our alleyway. Like literally had set up like an encampment in our alley. Somebody was like letting them live out of like a storage facility, and then it got burned down. Like it was a nightmare. Like it was getting pretty bad. And then the other thing too is just like the main reason is I got priced out of my own city essentially. Like I couldn't afford it anymore. Like the rents just got so high.
And you made the big expedition, the Oregon Trail of our time, from California to Texas. Do you regret it at all?
No, I hate the weather here, but I mean, I'm coming from San Diego, which is essentially, you know, paradise.
The most beautiful place on earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've often said, like, whenever I worked in San Diego or Southern California in general, I'm like, this is not a place to live because you don't value or appreciate what you have when you're there all the time. Like,
yeah,
it's a great vacation destination when you live like in the shithole of like the Northeast or the Midwest or somewhere else with a different climate. Like, oh, this is what perfection is. Let me go back and plow 12 inches of snow now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack this from you, Hex.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I also vaguely remember you mentioning that you lived in Colorado for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
How was that?
Yeah, I lived in Colorado Springs. Actually, I really like Colorado Springs. I thought it was really great. You know, in a way, like Colorado reminds me of California in the sense that like it's very sunny and bright, and you know what I mean. Like it's good for the mood, I guess.
Yeah.
People are really cool in Colorado too. Everybody's pretty chill.
Right, because everyone's all high all the time, right?
Yeah.
No, but that's cool. From Cali, you've been kind of all over the place, sort of ish. You've been in the Midwest at all?
On tour, like back in the day, yeah. I've been all over the place.
Hey, you're a well-traveled man, I see.
Yeah.
What else? All right, I guess we'll get into it. I Am the Icarus has a new record coming out in September,
Yeah,
right?
September 1st. Mhm.
Yep, Postmodern Bore. Why don't you tell everyone about it?
Yeah, so like it's basically like the last couple records have been very, throwback 90s alternative kind of records. And with this one it's the same thing, but it's almost like more so, I guess, this time. Like everybody has always like sort of poked fun at the like, Nirvana thing comparison with my music. So like this time I was like, okay, well, I'll just go full Nirvana and I'll rip off In Utero essentially. So Kurt Cobain ripped off the Pixies and I ripped off Kurt Cobain. But yeah, and the main thing too is like I wanted to make a political statement, and like I normally in my lyrics I don't really, it's not ever overtly political or like, it's more like personal type lyrics. And this is the first thing that I've ever written that wasn't necessarily like personal. It was more political. But after the whole COVID thing with the lockdowns and just all that ridiculousness and just the times we live in with all this woke bullshit and cancellations and all this kind of stuff, I had a lot I wanted to say. So that's kind of where this record was born from.
I like it. I can't wait for the entire thing to come out. September 1st?
September 1st, yeah. There's 2 singles out right now. And then I haven't decided yet. There's going to be one more for sure that'll probably come out like in the next week or 2. But I'm kind of toying with the idea of doing not a lot of people have done this. They don't do it anymore. They used to do it, but the double A side thing. I don't know if you guys remember. Some bands would do that. So I might do a double A side just to get a couple more songs out there before the record comes out. So we'll see.
And are they gonna be like CDs, vinyl, cassettes? I know I did see you ask about that on Twitter.
Yeah, I didn't get a whole lot of response on it, so I don't know. I'll see. If I do it, I'm gonna have to try and crowdfund it. I might do like an Indiegogo or something, because all the budget for this is already spent. Like essentially the way that it works for me is I try to release something every couple of years. So like whatever I do now is going to have to pay for what I do next, right? So like based off of like streaming, and if anybody like buys it digitally or whatever, I use all that money to make the next one. And all that money has been spent. So I don't really have a budget left to do physical, but we'll see. I might try and crowdfund it. We'll see.
Yeah, I personally wouldn't mind picking up a CD and a vinyl, but that's just me. I'm one of the weirdos who still actually buys music, and I have my reasons for it. But
yeah, me too.
There you go. Speaking of budget, I guess if you want to get into it, let's talk. I guess where did most of your budget go? Probably recording and mixing and all that, right?
Yeah, it just and it's not even like a huge budget because it's all friends of mine that help me out, and I get like bro deals and stuff. But yeah, it goes to paying for drums. The guy that does drums for me, he has a studio, so he just does it at his place. And then I pay my buddy Pete Sherrill. He's the guy that does all my mixing. He's actually the bassist from Trapped.
From Trapped?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. The Headstrong guys.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Simon Ormandy, he's one of the guys who founded the band. He and we've talked quite a bit. So that's
okay.
That connection is interesting.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Nice. So Pete does all my he's mixed everything that I've done since 2012, I guess, 2011, something like that. So I don't even know that I'll ever go with anybody else to mix my stuff, because like he just kind of like knows what I want, and he knows how to get what I want,
Right.
I guess. Like he kind of gets my brain, so like I don't really see that partnership ever stopping.
Just for everybody watching, I just updated both streams, both on YouTube and Rumble. If you refresh them, they do have Daniel's links to his Bandcamp, Twitter, and I Am the Icarus Twitter.
Yeah, and the reason I brought that up is because, like, a lot of your average person doesn't know about what goes into recording records and having a mix or whatever. And I think that question is good to give people a little bit of insight into how that goes, because me, I do everything on my own, so that's not really a problem for me. But it's nice talking to you. So
it's kind of cool nowadays the way things work. It's like you can do things, and you don't even have to be in the same place anymore. Like which was actually kind of like a struggle for this record, was because I wanted to have I wanted that feeling of like when you listen to the record that it just sounds like three guys in a room. That's what it's supposed to sound like, right?
Yeah.
But we're not actually three guys in a room together. It's like I'm in Texas and they're in California, in different cities in California. But yeah, we managed to accomplish it. It does have if you didn't know like how it was recorded, like, and you listen to it, it literally just sounds like three guys in a room, because there's no bullshit to it. It's drums, it's a guitar panned left and a guitar panned right, bass in the center, vocal, and a harmony, and that's it. There's no like, I didn't do like 50 layers of vocals or like 50 layers of guitars and all this kind of shit. And it's all just like pedals into an amp and a mic amp, and that's it. Like no BS.
I like it.
No Pro Tools wizardry or anything like that. Like we could have recorded it the same way on tape and it would have sounded exactly the same.
Right. I like the I guess bare bones approach there. I think it really did I think it really did the music justice, from what I've heard, at least.
Cool. Yeah.
Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? All right, what's that retro gaming console right behind you? What's that about?
Oh, that
guy.
Yeah, it's the MVSX. It's like the home version of an old Neo Geo arcade. They're like $500, which, I mean, it's the cost. It's what people pay for like a PlayStation 5, right? It's like same price.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, not for what it is. I mean, they make a riser for it, so like it's as tall as almost as tall as a basic regular arcade machine. What's really cool about it is that you can soft mod it, which is what I did. There's a USB stick in the back of it, and like I have basically like any arcade game I could want to play on there, which is pretty cool. Yeah,
that's really cool.
I know we talked about your guitars last night. How many do you have in your collection? Because it looks like I can count 5 right there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 in a bass.
What do you got, Hex?
I have 3 electric guitars, 1 acoustic, and then the bass right here that I'm holding.
I have an acoustic. No clue how to play it. My ex-girlfriend gave it to me. My ex-girlfriend gave it to me because she wanted me to learn how to play, and I liked having sex with her. And then we broke up, and she wanted it back, and I was like, "Fuck that! I'm keeping it." And then it's been sitting in the corner of the room ever since. Still don't know how to play it.
Do you what do you play, Hex? Do you play different brands, or I'm just a Fender guy? All I play is Fender.
All right, so this bass is Ibanez. Okay. The acoustic is actually an electric acoustic from a manufacturer called Esteban. And then I also have one of the electrics is also an Ibanez. And then I also have a Schecter and a Fender.
Okay,
I'm kind of all over the place, but Ibanez is probably my favorite.
Nice. I remember those Ibanez were really popular in the late 90s when all those new metal bands like Korn and all those bands were playing the 7-string ones. They were huge.
Yep. And then the like 5, 6 string basses as well.
Yeah.
What else? What else do I want to talk about?
I'm kind of fascinated like about the touring in a previous life, and I know we didn't touch on that last night. So, just out of curiosity, like, how many years did you tour? Like, where'd you go? Where was your favorite places to go?
I mean, it was kind of like off and on with different bands, like for pretty much like from when I was like, I don't know, about 17, 18 until my early-ish 20s, early to mid 20s. But yeah, I've just been all over. It's I don't know, it is what it is. It's all the tropes that people say it is, you know. It's a lot of just like you play and then you load up your shit and you leave and you go to the next town and you play and you just do it all over again. It's not really the glamorous thing people think it is. I mean, I think maybe that comes later if you're like super huge, like if you're a giant rock star band or something like that. Like if you're like, you know, Soundgarden or Korn or some huge band or like a pop star. But like when you're just like a working class band, it's like it's literally just
Another
you
job.
get to the town, you eat if you have time to eat, and then you play, and then you get paid, hopefully, and then move on to the next. It's pretty
When you
exhausting.
say hopefully, how many times did you not? Because I imagine when you're doing these travels, like you're depending on the money you make at a gig to get you to the next gig, especially when you're starting off.
Yeah. I mean, you try, like you get better at it. Like a lot of, you know, most bands have bookers and they handle a lot of that stuff. They make sure that you're getting at least a certain amount, you know, a guarantee, like when you play. So I mean, a lot of times, like you know, you're guaranteed, but when you're a smaller band, your guarantee is, you know, maybe, I mean, this was going back a long time, but like maybe $100 or $200 or something like that. And then they'll give you extra, like whatever extra they make at the door or off beer sales or whatever. Sometimes you can get a little extra. But you'll definitely, you can get screwed for sure. There's shady bookers and, you know, shady venue owners and all that kind of shit. So, but I didn't like it. You know, that's why like I kind of like what I do now, because I didn't like being away from home. I'm not like a super like sociable person. Like I don't, it's not that like I don't appreciate like fans or anything, but like I didn't like that whole like you're expected to like talk to people like after a show. And I don't know, I'm not a people person. So you know, the whole, like I've always said, like I don't want to be famous. I would just want to be rich. Like that would be cool. But
Right.
the whole fame aspect of it and like, you know, just dealing with people is not really my thing.
As someone else who's not a big people person, I completely understand that.
Which is why
Okay,
it's great now, because it's like I can talk to fans or whatever, like on Twitter or, you know, social media, things like that. Like I'm fine with that, because I'm, as an antisocial person, I can just talk to them on my phone and then turn off my phone and then I don't have to deal with it, as opposed to like you have to actually like shake people's hands and talk to them and shit.
Right. Were you gonna say
so
something, Paul?
yeah, when doing the touring, two-part question: what was your favorite city to go and play, and what was your least favorite city or place if it's a venue? And if you want to motherfucker a promoter, go for
it. I would say like probably my favorite places to play were always like small towns and like places where you wouldn't think, that aren't like known for like being like big music places, because the kids would go nuts.
I was gonna say, it seems like they'd be more receptive because they don't get the entertainment as often as the big cities do.
They'll treat a band like they'll treat a no-name band like it's like a, you know, they're the Rolling Stones or something. They go ape shit crazy for anything. And it didn't matter where it was, as long as it was a place like that, those were my favorite places. And then like I didn't really like, you know, most of the like kind of like New York, LA crowds, because they were the ones that'll just stand there with their arms crossed the whole time, like, because they've seen everything, so like nothing impresses them. And it's like at a certain point it's like, why am I even playing these fucking places anymore?
Right. On that, I guess vein of favorite and least favorite, do you have a most favorite and least favorite song and or album that you've written?
I guess my least favorite now is probably the first EP, which is funny because like I think to this day like two of the more popular songs from the band are like from that EP. The Secret to Living is Dying Well, and then
That's
that
a good
song,
one.
and
I
that
love that
song
one.
Faster. But like I think the reason it's my least favorite now is because it's like it's not who I am at all. Like I don't think I even really was that person. It's very overproduced for me. It's very polished, and yeah, I mean, I guess maybe that's why people like it. I don't know. It's like it's the most like I guess it sounds like we sound like a mainstream band. You know what I mean? Like it could be on a major label or something like that. But like my favorite is probably the newest one because it's closest to like my sort of like grungy punk ethics. And I also like Alexandria. That record was another one that is probably like one of my favorites because that one again is just I literally recorded the guitars in a garage, just one amp and one guitar in a garage. So it's like it doesn't get any more punk rock than that, and those are always my favorite songs and records.
It's so funny that you say that because like as a content creator, if that's my art form, if I'm an artist, I can humbly say that. I'm thinking back to what you're saying, and like to me, the older stuff wasn't polished, and my goal is to always get better at the polish aspect of it to make it look like a better production. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I like what we're doing now. But like going back to the old library when it was just two dudes turning a camera on with shitty microphones, like it was heartwarming. It was endearing doing it, like garage grunge style, but
Yeah.
always trying to get to that polish point,
Yeah, there's a fine line, I think, with in anything, but definitely in music, there's a fine line between the it's too polished and it sounds like shit. It's like you got to find that happy medium. And also, I think the most important thing is there has to be an honesty to it because there are those bands that sort of their whole shtick is that it's lo-fi or whatever, right? But a lot of that lo-fi stuff comes off as very false to me because I know that they're using production tricks to get it. Like they're not actually lo-fi at all. They're faking it. It's not real.
It's kind of like it's almost like putting an Instagram filter on it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think the evolution of all entertainment right now is really interesting because, as we talked about last night with record labels and that back in the day controlling everything, and now we talked about how record labels are coming back in because they're controlling the big tech platforms like Spotify, YouTube, and everything else. I think it's interesting that we lived through that time of the late 90s, early millennium, where so many people were seeking out different things and alternative and, indie, and there was an audience no matter what your genre was. You weren't going to make like Elvis money, where you had the record companies backing you to go quadruple platinum, but Korn found their audience, Tool found their audience, everybody was finding their audience, and it seems like we're now, like we talked about last night, we're devolving back into that. Record companies are putting everything in one barrel and everything's homogenous, no
Yep.
matter what genre it's coming from.
Yeah, it's the same across the board. Film, music, all of it. It's
Mm-hmm.
all very corporate, and it's funny because like there's this like people get it twisted where it's like, oh, like like comic books are a good example where it's like everything is like LGBTQ plus like whatever, right? It's all diversified and it's like the whole woke thing, right? So it's like it's supposed to be good and virtuous, right? It's like it has nothing to do with that. They're doing it for money. Like it's not actually virtuous. Like that's not why they're really doing it. They're doing it because of all these like DEI people that like work at these companies and have told them that that's what they need to do to make money.
But I
Right.
think on the positive, I think now as a society, we're on the precipice of the pendulum swinging the other way, where the company's listening to their blue-haired college hires who are telling them to do this DEI bullshit, and now they're not making money. It's come to
Yeah.
a point where they couldn't do it because people were still, but we were still buying the shit they were feeding us, and it's now slowly turning after the pandemic, where people are like, you know what? I'm not going to spend my money on that comic book. I'm not going to spend my money to go see that garbage movie in the theaters. I'm not going to buy that album from that corporate band. We're now starting to see that. I mean, the Dylan Mulvaney situation, that surprised the shit out of me, how far that's gone with Bud Light. And I like to see that we're on the precipice of that pendulum swinging the other way of like, no. If you want us to buy your product, corporate America, you actually have to start giving us good shit again. Because if you don't, we're not going to pay for it.
And they're firing, like, didn't Disney aren't all these companies firing their DEI chiefs and stuff?
Yep.
Yeah, Disney's firing everyone, and they're offloading ESPN. Bob Iger came out this week. I know I touched on it a little bit last night in the SAG thing, but Bob Iger came out this week, and he flat out said there's a possibility we might sell Disney, the corporation, outright.
Right.
Like, can you imagine that? Where Disney, the largest corporation in the world, their CEO is coming out in public, and he actually said, "Yeah, selling Disney's not off the table. We might sell the whole company." You know how hurting they have to be to do that?
Yeah. They've even talked about selling Lucasfilm back to George Lucas, which I'm like, shit, things must be getting really bad.
Oh man.
If I was George Lucas, I'd be like, I'd give you $100 and a sandwich.
Yeah.
Right.
You fucked my IP so bad.
Yeah. I would not want it back.
Mhm.
I doubt he wants it back, honestly. He if they tried, he'd probably just tell him to go take a hike.
If I was him, I would take it back, but then not just gut everything that they did.
I want to say he sold
It'd be the best thing.
like, I want to say he sold it to them for like $30 billion.
It was like 3.4 billion.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was 34, but it might be 3.4. It was in the billion.
Yeah, it was like 3.4 or something like that.
If he can get it back for pennies on the dollar, buy your company back from the company that you sold it to with their money at a way reduced price.
Yep. It's like the best deal ever.
Mm-hmm. No, but it's sad, and I hope it flips the other way. And I think we've seen a lot of promising movies come out that are showing that. I say movies because that's the one I'm in tune with the most. TV shows too.
And that was the other thing with this, with this new record that like I wanted to do is because like I got so disillusioned during the pandemic with all these like supposed punk rock bands and they were supposed to be like the anti-establishment, anti-government bands all just folded, and they got in line with what the government told them to do. And I was like, I thought, what happened to the punk rockers? I thought punk rock was supposed to be like, fuck you, like what happened? So that was a big inspiration for this record, was like I want to, since none of the punk rock bands are going to do it, then I guess I'm going to have to do it because nobody else will.
Yeah. It takes people like us to step up. Like, I think Offspring, I never really listened to them, but they told the line from what I heard. Rage Against the Machine is the obvious.
God.
It's the obvious people point to. It's just so bad with them. It's just like, holy shit, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I guess Foo Fighters to some extent because he kind of made people get the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just bad all around. There are some industrial bands because I'm big into industrial music, and there were some bands who also started towing the line, wear a mask and all that. And it's like, wait, I thought the whole thing was resisting all this. What's going on?
I know. Was Ministry one of those bands? I hope not.
I don't know, but I know they did kind of go woke. They were very much. I remember them being anti-Trump, and they wrote some like anti-Trump songs, which like it's cringe, but whatever.
Yeah. I remember even like back during the it's just funny because it's like there was these bands that were very like during the Bush years, during after 9/11 and the Iraq War and all that, like the bands that were kind of like anti-government at the time. Like they all just completely like shifted during COVID and did a flip, and now they were all like pro everything the government was saying, and that kind of tripped me out.
Yeah, it's like they
And
were
now like pro Ukraine war, right? Like they're all about the war in Ukraine, but like they were anti-Iraq war. Like
funny you bring that up, because Ozzy Osbourne, he put out a new album, and he put out like a version of the vinyl that had like their flag on it, and I'm like, wait, aren't you the motherfucker who wrote War Pigs? What are you doing?
Oh man, Ozzy. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's like, at one point they actually were the resistance, and then the people who pushed the policies, they like got in power, and then we're like, okay, yeah, we'll listen to everything you say now, but then they're still out here acting like they're the resistance, and it's like, no, you're not.
Well, isn't that the old adjective? Everybody's the antagonist in their own story. Everybody's the good guy, and then once you get the power, you become the bad guy.
Yep.
Speaking of music, have you guys ever listened to his music?
Who's?
Tim Pool, from like Timcast.
Oh no, I haven't. I haven't heard good things about it though.
It's terrible. I've heard it. It's terrible.
I don't like it. Like, I'm not a Tim Pool music fan, but his one song I find very interesting. God damn it! And it's about like the changing of power. Like you're the revolution. You're the one raging against the machine. Then you revolt. You win. You become the machine, and then you become the bad guy, doing everything that the bad guy before you did. Yeah, everything that you fought against.
I think what it is like, I think
Will of the People. Thank you, guys. That's the name of the song, Will of the People.
I think people show their true colors, because like I was saying last night on the other podcast, is like I haven't changed really what I believe. Like I've always believed what I believe, and I haven't changed. Everything has changed around me. Mm-hmm. And I think the problem is that these people, they have no testicle fortitude, and they folded is what it is. Like, and they just went with the trend or whatever the fuck, I don't know what you want to call it, but they when it came down to it, they couldn't stand up for what they supposedly believed in, and that's what I found most offensive, especially with the punk rockers.
Agreed. It's just, it was really eye-opening seeing all that. It's not just in music; it was everywhere.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the heroes we had in entertainment that we looked to just let us down when we needed it. When we needed that belief system the most. That, hey, this is tyrannical. This sucks, And now, the government's paying you a check, so you're making a rap song for a vaccine. You're making a pro lockdown commercial. Like, it was fucking insane to me. And it's like, that's right. You pray to the god of money.
Yeah.
And whoever signs the check, you're going to do what they tell you. I get it.
Yeah.
The tale is old. It's time.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because like people try to make it this thing about like, left and right and whatever. And it's like, like a lot of times with like the Trumpers and stuff. And it's like, are you guys fucking stupid? Like, he was the one that the lockdown started under Trump, and then they continued under Biden. Like, it's not like a left or right thing. It's like they're both fucked.
Here's okay. This is not a defense of Trump. This is not like a trial of who's better, who's worse. But in fairness, Trump at no point tried to do a federal lockdown or federal mandates to anything. Like, this is the one thing, like, I always kind of push back against the liberty community, like, lockdowns happened under Trump. State level lockdowns happened under Trump. I do not argue or dismay that, but those were governors and state legislator points. The Biden administration actually tried to use the federal government to force people to get a vaccine, to force people into their homes, like federally. So I think that's a little bit of a and I'm not saying anything against you, Dale. I just think that's kind of a disingenuous argument. Like, what was Trump supposed to do? Bring in the army to fight every single governor in independent state? Again, not defending Trump, don't care about Trump, just saying.
Yeah,
that is fair. A little bit of a difference. And I know if First was here, he'd be like, I'm MAGA.
I am of the fuck all of them camp. So
Agreed. Not disputing that. I totally agree. I don't want Trump to be president again. I would like us to actually, us as the people, to nominate people on each side that are actually pretty fucking decent, to where you actually have to struggle on who you're going to vote for because they're actually both good. I know that'll never happen in my lifetime, but that would be really dope if it did.
Right.
It's the old you're choosing between a turd and what is it, a douche and a turd sandwich? Like basically every fucking election. I think what we need to do is start nominating high school graduates. I'm tired of people who went to college running everything. Get me a dude who graduated high school in New Jersey, worked as a mechanic for the last 25 years, and put his greasy ass in front of the podium and just be like, yeah, taxes suck. I don't like paying those.
He'd get my vote.
We should probably do whatever we can to lower those. And we should probably stay out of your life. And
quit sending people to die in other countries.
Yeah.
You want black people to stop being killed by the cops? I want everyone to stop being killed by the cops. Let's have police be a more reactionary force instead of a proactive force. You could find somebody who could win a lot of hearts and minds on both sides if they took a very centered approach and a very liberty-minded approach. Unfortunately, you just can't count on the Libertarian Party to do that. No offense, anybody in the Libertarian Party. Love you guys. You're my favorite. Jessica Fensky for Arvada, Colorado, District
4. So what's next for I Am the Icarus? Got any? Maybe it's a little too early for future plans. Maybe not. Got any? What's next? What's in your future?
Yeah. So basically, after the record comes out September 1st, I'll probably start working on what's next. And what's next is there's kind of three things I want to do. One is I have a side project called Doomed Operator, which is actually me and Pete from Trapped or whatever. We write together, and we put out one EP back in 2018. It's kind of it's actually, you might like it. It's a little more like industrial rock, a lot of keyboards and that kind of shit. So very Nine Inch Nails. We've been wanting to do something else, which is kind of a little bit more of a doom metal kind of thing. So I'm going to start working on that. And then I already have started working a little bit on some of the new I Am the Icarus stuff. But I think before I do the next Icarus record, I kind of want to do an acoustic type thing. I thought about doing a covers record of a bunch of country songs, which I thought might be kind of interesting and different for me. But yeah, those three things will be what I'm working on. And then you can probably expect another Icarus record in, what are we in, 2023? Probably 2025. I try to do them every couple of years.
You're speaking my language, doom metal.
All right. Well, yeah, you'll like the Doomed Operator next thing that we do. So
I'm actually really interested in that. Send me the link for that, because I'm actually really interested in that Doomed Operator.
Okay, yeah, I'll send it after this.
And I know we already touched on that. Your link to Bandcamp is below. Bandcamp is the best way to listen to you, to support your music. You are available on other streaming services, but Bandcamp is the best.
Yeah, well, I mean, the streaming part is fine. If you want to stream on Spotify or whatever, the only thing that I ask is if you want to support me, is go to Bandcamp and actually buy it. You can digitally buy the record, and Bandcamp takes a lot less. And also, here's the thing: is if you go and stream my music, that's cool. I'll get 0.1234 1 penny.
A fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a penny, basically.
So if you go listen to it 10,000 times, I'll get $1. But if you really want to support me, you can just go buy, the song for 99 cents or buy the record for $6. So,
as someone else who also uses Bandcamp to put out music, I can also confirm that's if you're someone who actually cares about supporting the musicians you listen to, if they're on Bandcamp, go and buy it on Bandcamp. They take way less than most everyone else. unlimited downloads, and you can get downloads in whatever format you like, FLAC, MP3, whatever. It is literally the best. The company's woke as shit, but you know, is what it is there.
At least they're
JC
paying us, right?
Right.
JC coming through with $10. He says, "Any Boars fans in the house?"
That
I
is
don't know.
vaguely familiar.
I don't
That's
know what Boris
vaguely
is.
familiar.
And if it's music, I'm sorry, I'm not the music guy. I'll say that as loud as I can. I'm a big music guy. But what you guys are saying is the main reason why I always tell everybody for content creation, support them on Rumble. If they're on YouTube and Rumble gives better profit sharing on views. Rumble keeps very little of super chat money compared to YouTube. YouTube gives creators 40%. Rumble gives creators 90%. That's fucking huge. I mean, don't get me wrong. Please don't say if you want to support a creator, support him the best feel how. If you're a YouTube fan, do it on YouTube. But it's funny when you're behind the curtain as a creator to know what the best alternatives are and to get that. And I don't think it's greedy to do that. I think that it's the best thing to tell people where it's the best place to support you.
Right.
The other thing that I was gonna say too, where people are always asking, like, you know, like, how can I support your band or whatever? Like, really, the best thing that you can do is if you actually really like my band and you like what I'm doing, is literally just tell everybody you know. Like, share it with people. Like, hey, check out this band. You know, send them a link to whatever. You know, just word of mouth is like, because I don't have a record label. Like, I'm independently releasing this shit myself, so it's like I don't have like a PR marketing team behind me or whatever. It's like,
right,
you know, people like you, like, allowing me to come on your podcast and talk about my
Get the word
bullshit.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's what helps me. So yeah, just tell your friends and family and stuff. That helps me out the most.
We didn't touch on this last night, but you are producing, you are funding all of this yourself. You're paying for everything out of pocket. Do you have a day? And I know we talked about like you flipping stuff on eBay last night. Do you have an actual 9 to 5 day job, or are you doing other stuff to pay the bills?
No, I have a day job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
That's the thing, is like, most people, you know, think that, you know, people in bands like that's all they do. Like, you'd be surprised at the amount of even bands who are like signed to labels who have their shit out in stores who have day jobs, or they have to have some sort of side hustle to make ends meet. It's almost impossible to do it just with music nowadays. Like, unless you're, you know, signed to a pretty big label, or you're just huge. You know, you have to be really, really huge.
pretty much, especially these days.
Yeah, I know that,
good?
like, all of our friends, everybody that hang around in our circles, like the FMU, that who does content creation, does, like, Hex does music, Hex does content creation, and he still works a minimum of 40 hours a week at a day job to keep the bills paid. Like, all of us, it's anybody you see in the FMU, like, we are all doing this on top of our regular ass life. And it's always interesting to see, because it's the stuff you do outside of a job that's your passion and the shit you like doing, and just the creative side. That's what I like.
Yep.
All right, we're coming up on it. You wanna?
Yeah, we got 10 more minutes. Anything else anyone want to talk about?
I'm starting the carnivore diet tomorrow, and I just grilled 6 pounds of meat.
Really?
Nice.
Let me know how that goes.
Oh, I'm ready for the. I hear that the explosive bathroom visits are going to be starting. I'm ready for it.
I'm almost on a carnivore diet, but not quite. But I basically eat nothing but meat, vegetables, and like, you know, cashews and different kinds of nuts.
Yeah, and that's what I eat. Very little grain, but I eat a lot of vegetable. And I'm just going to cut the grains and vegetables out. This isn't like I'm going to the Church of Carnivore. This is, all right, I've been hearing everybody talk about it. Everybody who's part of the Church of Carnivore is always preaching to me like, dude, you don't understand. Your mind works like, what's that Bradley Cooper movie? Doug, I know you're here. You love that fucking movie where he takes the pill and it unlocks his mind. Like eating nothing but meat unlocks your full brain potential, and you lose weight super fast. For me, it's no sugar. I love meat. We'll give it a shot. But I do love vegetables. Like I eat vegetables like crazy. So I'm just gonna cut it out. I'm gonna see it. And I already started. I already started the vitamin supplements this past week. Like what I'm gonna be lacking in just eating protein. So.
All right, I got
Paul's carnivore diet is all the tube stick his jaw can handle.
It's
funny, but
All
funny.
right. I got a question for you, just a little offshoot. What's your favorite retro game, Daniel?
Retro game?
Yeah, you have a favorite?
Oh, geez, that's hard because I like so many games. Basically, if it's a Sega game, if it was like a Sega Genesis game, like I'm into it. I would say probably like Strider and Golden Axe. Oh yeah, I just got this. Check this out. This was one of my favorite games growing
Wizards
up.
and Warriors is a good one.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I love this game. So yeah, that would definitely be on my list of favorite retro games.
X, what's yours?
That's a good question. Fuck.
Yeah, I know. It was your question.
It's because there's so many. There's so many good
I'm not
ones.
gonna lie. Mine's like the typical cheesy. I could play Mike Tyson's Punch Out forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Like I could literally play that game nonstop over and over.
I remember my dad figured out the is it Don Flamenco, the one where like he gets stuck in a loop if you do left right punches? You know what I'm talking about?
Don Flamenco's the one with the rose in his mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
And he does the circle. Donk, donk, donk.
Yeah, so like if you know how you can like dodge their hit and then punch them and they get kind of stuck and then you can hit them. If you do that and then you just do left right punches, he can't get out of it, and you could just left right punch him until he gets knocked down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we got Sam coming through going, yep, that was Don Flamenco you could do that with.
Yeah, and I remember I thought my dad was like the coolest person ever because when I was a little kid, like he figured out that you could do that, and I was like, oh, my dad figured out a secret.
And you know what was great about Mike Tyson's Punch Out? It is probably the most racist game ever in the history of video games.
Every boxer.
Every single boxer was their racial stereotype.
Yeah.
And there was a big blonde black man at the top of the hill. He was the best of the best. That's why everybody let it go. Because Mike Tyson was the shit.
Mike Tyson was fucking bullshit in that game, though. Like, goddamn.
Oh, it was. I mean, like
one hit kill.
Mike Tyson, it was if you beat Mike Tyson, it was on accident.
Yeah,
like it happened by accident.
He was such bullshit. I always had a problem getting past Soda Popinski. Was he like the big Russian guy?
The Russian.
Yeah.
He was in the arcade version, which came out first. He was Vodka Drunkinski was his name. And when they went to NES, they changed it to Soda Popinski.
Soda Popinski. Nice. Yeah, that game was awesome.
Yeah, the Middle Eastern dude had the turban with the jewel that lit up.
That guy was bullshit too, with the spinning around and disappearing shit.
Yep. Boom, 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 brrr, and then he'd fade away.
Yeah.
It was great, man. It's my favorite retro game ever. Still own it. Still have a Nintendo. Still pull it out just to play Mike Tyson's Punch Out every now and then.
Hell yeah.
Now I feel like you got to get that on an emulator.
I know if you have a Switch, you can get it on the Switch. I've been told.
I might have to steal my sister's Switch then.
All right, let's do plugs and go home.
You first,
Daniel.
You're the guest. You're the guest of honor, so you plug your shit first.
Yeah, just follow me on social media. Twitter at Daniel Godfrey. At I am the Icarus is the Twitter account for the band. Don't tell anyone I'm both, but we talk to each other like I have a split personality or something. And then just check out the band on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Bandcamp, basically anywhere you can stream music. It's even on like Tidal and all the other not as popular ones. But yeah, that's it. Oh, and September 1st, that's the new record.
September 1st is when it drops.
Postmodern Boris, September 1st. Everyone look out for it. And then when it comes out, shout it from the rooftops. And speaking of which, I got one more question. Where did the name I Am the Icarus come from?
That's a funny story because I hate the name. I can't stand the name. I needed to come up with a name, and I had a list of about, like, I don't know, 25, 30 different names. And I had the name I Am Icarus as one of the band names. And I don't know, I couldn't choose between like these 25, 30 names I have. So I sent it to my producer at the time, which was Sean Lopez. And he was like, I Am Icarus. He's like, but why don't you make it I Am the Icarus? And I was like, why? What does that mean? He's like, I don't know, it just sounds cool. And I was like, all right, sure, whatever. I don't care. I just want to get this over with. So that's why the name is I Am the Icarus. It makes no sense, and there's literally no meaning behind it. It's just, that's what it was.
you should go full Chris Pratt in Parks and Rec and just start changing the band's name every week. Like, just come out like after the album drops, come out as Mouse Rat like 2 days later. I'll do my plugs, Hex, and you can close it out. All right. For me, watch Sibling Revelry on Rumble every Saturday night, 7 p.m. We do have a local, siblingrevelry.locals.com, sib_rev on Twitter. My brother, who is co-host of Sibling Revelry, he on our Discord server every Friday night, he's doing a movie watch along, and the movie's voted on Twitter, and then he watches it with everybody on the Discord server, and that's a really fucking fun, good time. So I strongly recommend going down to do that. And shout out to Michael for creating the Discord server. Love you, St. Mike. And regular Mike Oxline, I saw what you said. Shout out Owen Benjamin, greatest song ever. I'm joking, but yeah, those are my plugs.
All right, and then as for me, if you go basically anywhere and type in Hexcelerate, I will probably show up, and that's going to be me. YouTube, Rumble, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Twitter, Instagram, all that good jazz. Just type in Hexcelerate as you see on the screen before you.
All right. Everybody, thank you for watching. That's going to end tonight's episode. Are you guys coming back to your normal scheduling next Sunday? Is there a guest book? I don't know. Yeah, I always wait till you guys say, Paul, we need you to push buttons on Sunday. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I think so. We'll be back to normal.
All right, cool. Everybody, thanks for watching. Love you guys. See you next week.